I'm going to talk a little bit about trying to create games in a gym environment. So the way that this usually starts is trying to think about what do you want out of it. Like for example, one of my favorites is a bench, like a seated broad jump to a pad, right? So it all of a sudden creates kind of a force like modulation of intensity. And then also it's really easy to manipulate to create like further challenges to make the athlete have to think a little bit more or to challenge their landing mechanics. And it also just can be very competitive very easily, right? If you have multiple athletes, who gets the furthest, who lands on the pad the softest, etc. So the way I tend to do it is I start the pad like a couple feet off the bench, seated broad jump, land on the pad. Every time you make it, this one's about the size of an Airx pad, you flip the pad and go a little further. One really easy way to manipulate it, if I can grab one of these really fast, is taking a low hurdle and just throwing it between the landing and the takeoff, right? So all of a sudden now there's a height requirement that's required into this. So now I'm thinking, okay, I have to land on the pad, so I have to get that far, but I also have to go this high, right? So now there's a challenge. It forces you to think differently about the way you're doing the thing. So jump, clear, make it. I can either move both the hurdle and the pad, or I can move just the pad. So now there's an early height requirement and a late landing requirement. So that's fine. Or I can move this closer and create a more vertical jump. And also move this further and probably have a more intense output because I can maintain that height for longer, right? If it's closer to me, I can clear it and get out. But if it's further, I can make sure that I'm that high out before I hit the pad. So it's a little different. Other ways you can do it are thinking like single leg landings, right? You can have sideways landings. I've had trick contests, so like I've had athletes trying to do 360s and land on the pad. We get a little crazy with it sometimes. Catch a football while you're jumping. Just make it fun, but it's a really easy way to do it. So when you create a game, think about the output you want. That's creating like a lot, like it's a reactive lower body, it's competitive, there's a broad jump, like an extension component at the hips, and it's also creating power through the lower body and also coordination and landing mechanics. So think about what you want, think about a game that can give you that same output, or maybe a plyometric or jumping variation that you like, and then how can you gamify that jumping variation to